Deep within our hearts are fond memories of growing up and playing games on the Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis. As for a lot of us, these were our very first consoles. Now, since these consoles were a big hit for gamers, we've seen gaming evolve rapidly over the years, with stunning graphics, heart-wrenching stories, and new hardware being premiered each year. Nintendo has been at the center of this over time, as they've constantly been reinventing the gaming space. But this time around, they're at the center of some backlash from some fans. This comes off of the announcement of their Nintendo Switch Premium Online service, which has been looming for quite some time, as they announced it back in September of this year, and it just launched yesterday that they are going to be allowing fans to play Nintendo 64 games as well as Sega Genesis games on the Nintendo Switch. Now, at first thought of playing the classic games on your Nintendo Switch seemed amazing. Nintendo revealed the price point to gamers during their latest Direct this October, and let's just say fans aren't the happiest. And unfortunately, the price point is not the only thing that fans are upset about. There's some latency issues with the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion that we're going to talk about later. Now, Nintendo announced that a select few of these games from these consoles will be playable on Switch. Fans all over aren't so happy with the price they're going to have to pay to have access to these games. The bundles start out with a $50 singular plan, going all the way up to $80 a year for a family bundle. It appears to be a pretty steep ask for games you could play on your PC via an emulator such as Dolphin. Not to mention, you could boot up your Wii U or even your Nintendo 64 and play those games you already have for a much cheaper price. Now, the service is out right now, and in case you're wondering, here are the games you'll be able to play on your Switch if you do opt in to the new service. And the list is pretty bare bones at the moment, which is kind of unfortunate, but here is what they offer at this point. Dr. Mario 64, Mario Tennis, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, as if you already didn't buy the 3D All-Stars bundle, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, No Majora's Mask Just Yet, Win Back Covert Operations, and Yoshi's Story. While these are some classic games that we all love and appreciate, it seems like an incredibly steep ask from Nintendo to pay the equivalent of a brand new first-party game each year, especially for games that were released over 20 years ago. We aren't the only ones criticizing Nintendo's new service plan, as Reddit is pretty much tearing them apart. I've linked the thread below, but some of the top comments have called out Nintendo's pricing scheme and how we've noted above that you can simply play the game on an emulator. According to a user named Leo, they noted, "I really want to play N64 games on my Switch, but not that much. Jesus Christ, Nintendo." A Reddit user named Fill My Void commented how they're still able to play certain titles on their Wii U thanks to the Nintendo eShop service that this console provided. And they said, and I quote, "I still have my Wii U plugged in because I can play Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission again anytime I want. It would be cool if Switch would let you buy certain games to own for good if you didn't want to pay for another year of online, just to have a Link to the Past or Banjo-Kazooie on your system for as long as it functions." Now, with all of that being said, it's still up in the air whether or not Nintendo will be adding more value to the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion service with multiple different game consoles like GameCube and maybe even Wii. But as it stands right now for the Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis, we'll have to wait and see if there are any future plans to add more and more games to the limited library, like if they plan on supporting specific game consoles for months to come or years to come, or if they plan to just forget about it and just make you pay the money anyway. They have teased some other Nintendo 64 games coming to the platform, so at least we can safely assume that they will be adding more as months proceed. Now, here is the current issue that Nintendo fans are the most angry about. The service is pretty much not working the way it should be. There's latency for some games. Ocarina of Time has like a 130 millisecond latency. I think it's even a 160 that someone had. The online service is pretty shoddy. It's almost like a PowerPoint for some of the online games. And overall, the experience has just been pretty bad. I've played it myself, and I am not a fan of playing Ocarina of Time on it. I would much rather boot up my Wii U or just open up Dolphin emulator or Project 64 rather, and just play games on that. You would think that ever since Nintendo rolled out their new online infrastructure that we wouldn't have these issues with latency and lag on these online cloud systems. With Nintendo Switch Online basically replacing Virtual Console, I am not very happy with how things are right now. The reality is there's not many games. The games that we have don't really work, in the online system that they are supposedly selling is just a PowerPoint presentation the entire time. I really hope Nintendo is able to fix the latency issue on Ocarina of Time. At this point, I would much rather play it on my PC or just boot up my Nintendo 64 and have an experience that's actually playable. Not to mention the games themselves look pretty bad. I would much rather play it on Project 64 or even just give us the ports from Nintendo 3DS. Like, you've already got Ocarina of Time made. It's already remastered. Nintendo, what are you doing? Like, yeah, sure, it's a great game for online, the online service, but I would have much rather had the 3DS versions, and the other games that are on there they play okay, and I like the fact that you can play online. Whenever it does work, it works well, but Nintendo just has to fix the latency issues. Maybe it's just launch day hiccups, but I'm pretty concerned, and I would not recommend anybody buy the Plus expansion until Nintendo does fix that stuff. Right now, it is not worth the money. Do not buy this expansion. Wait until Nintendo has ironed out some of the fixes. I really hope this was just a bad launch and this was not their best effort, because if this was their best effort compared to what they've done with Virtual Console, I am not convinced that Nintendo will be able to fix the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion situation. I'm still going to hold out hope, and maybe in the future I'll be able to recommend the Plus expansion, but at this current juncture, I do not think anybody should buy it right now. The egregious price, the limited game selection, and the fact that the games don't even work half the time, the online feature is broken, and the games themselves have terrible latency. I don't know though, guys, maybe it's just been my experience with the Plus expansion. It's been pretty bad for me. Maybe it's been better for you guys. Let me know in the comments section. Also, I'm kind of back making videos. I've had to move, and I've, had an unfortunate passing in my family, and I haven't been able to post content. I'm also kind of sick right now, so if you guys wonder why my voice sounds so bad, it's because I'm currently sick. But hey, if you guys want more content like this and you want my thoughts and opinions on gaming news and Nintendo Switch news, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel with your notifications on, and don't forget to check back tomorrow for a possible new upload. Thank you guys all once again for watching. This has been Wes, and I will talk to you on the next video.